Hello and good evening. How you doing out there? This is Shelvon, and I am currently trying to get Rumble to work, and it's not doing that. So I keep hearing some people having issues with StreamYard, and apparently I'm having one today. So, all right, well, I'm probably just gonna have to upload it up over there. So how y'all doing out there? I am by myself today. It is Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to all you mothers out there. And my compatriots are doing family stuff. My family doesn't live in where I live at, so my thing is more phone calls and sending stuff out. It's kind of how it works when you don't live in the same place that your family does. So it kind of sucks, and you can't really like visit as much as you want because you know, especially nowadays with people having no money and airplanes doing weird stuff in the sky. So it is what it is, and you just kind of learn to live with it. But I'm gonna do this little thing. I'm probably I don't know how long this particular episode is gonna be, but we'll see. Oh, the first thing that I want to talk about is there are some casting news with Spider-Man. And let me get to this article. All right, where is it at? Here we go. All right, so I don't know how truthful this is. And make myself a little tiny person. So I don't know how truthful this is. So, like I said, this is just rumors. And let's see. Spider-Man Brand New Day, Lisa Colon Zayas, rumored to be rumored as new on May. I read this article a little bit, and the person she's rumored to play, she looks a little too old for that. But I guess I don't. Casting additional Spider-Man on Thursday, actress Liza Colon Zayas joins Tom Holland, who returns as Peter Parker and Spider-Man, Zendaya as MJ. Sadie Sink is an undisclosed role. Jacob Batalon is expected back as Ned. The role of Liza, I'm just going to say, instead of trying to pronounce that, is playing Spider-Man. Is kept under wraps. She is known for playing Tina Marrero. I am bad with names. Sorry. The Bear. She also played Detective Jessica Perez in the DC live action Titans series, which I did not watch because they were not very true to the source material. They race changed Starfire, which is weird because Starfire is an orange alien, so they didn't really need to race change her. I mean, the person that they picked, they could have just painted her orange, and she would look closer to what Starfire actually looks like. But they decided to not do that. I guess the actress didn't want to go for the face paint, which is weird because you're playing an orange alien, and when you took the part, you knew that you was going to play an orange alien. But that's a digression. So yeah, I never watched that because I didn't really like what they did. While the role is unknown, fans have thrown out there is that Liza would actually be playing the mother of Miles Morales in Spider-Man Brand New Day. They've already introduced the Prowler, and he was talking about his nephew. Like, this lady looks a little old to have because Tom Holland is, I guess, his Peter Parker is just graduated from high school. So even if they go a couple of years into the future, he'll be maybe early 20s. Like Miles is, if I'm not mistaken, he is like 14 or 15. She looks a little old to have a 15-year-old son. I'm just saying. See, she is young. She is not so young. Young. Not so young. Okay. Is like she's Mother Rio Morales, a native of Puerto Rico. happens to be of Puerto Rican descent and was born in the Bronx in New York City. Like, like, I get. Well, we are in this age where people have to play parts that their genetics allow them to play. So because she's Puerto Rican, therefore she has to play Puerto Rican. I thought the whole thing was acting, but well, I mean, I guess I can't gripe about them race changing characters and then make fun of them doing this at the same time. So, yeah. Mhm. Maybe it's eventually revealed that she is playing the mother of Miles Morales, leading to a live action Ultimate Spider Man Miles Morales movie. The Spider Verse animated movies will be done by then. As a character, I don't mind Miles. Miles Morales is probably not as famous as the folks would like it to be who are fans of him, because I guess they're adding to his rogues gallery a bit, but they're basically doing things that are just carbon copies of stuff that Spider-Man went through. So they did the Clone Saga. It's like a bunch of weird stuff. And like they taking all the bad stuff that people didn't really like about the Spider-Man and making Miles do it. I don't know. It's a little weird. I've seen it suggested also a result or forgetting about Peter that Spider-Man Brand New Day introduces a new cast of friends for Holland's Parker, which is how Sadie Sink comes into play. This still is stupid because instead of having everybody forget that he is Peter Parker, he could have just had him cast a spell where what's the name of the character? Damn it. I am drawing a blank. But in that movie where he announced that who Spider-Man was, you could have just had a spell where that didn't happen. Instead of having everyone on the planet forget who he is. I think they did it is a play on what happened in the comics. I think after Civil War, where Peter Parker, he announced who he was, and I think Aunt May got hurt or killed. Something happened with her, and like when everybody found out who he was, his enemies went after his family. So if I'm not mistaken, he went and had Stephen Strange do a spell where people forgot that he did that. But the way that they did it, if I'm not mistaken, everyone else except for the people who knew who already knew who Spider-Man was forgot. It's kind of dumb, but it was a dumb thing that they did. It's like this is a dumb thing where they could have just like erased that particular thing from happening. Because if you get rid of that, then you don't have to make everybody forget because they wouldn't have known in the first place. So I've seen it suggested that fans that Sadie Sink is from the multiverse and plays the daughter of Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst's character from Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movies. If that's the case, I expect Sadie Sink to be a mutant and have mutant spider powers. When the comics is May Parker. It actually fits with the previous rumor that Sadie Sink was playing Jean Grey, of course, a mutant member of the X-Men. Okay, it's a little convoluted. Kitchen rumors are for Simulu will be appearing, who was confirmed back as Shang-Chi. Has officially been announced as the Avengers Doomsday, but is said the events of Spider-Man Brand New Day run at the same time as Doomsday, was explained Spidey's absence. And it seems likely that the movies and Spider-Man New Day post-credit scene will lead directly into Avengers Secret Wars. I don't know, man. It's like they're making these things more complicated than they need to be. So I remember when the MCU first started, each movie was kind of contained into its own little pocket and was focused basically on the character of the movie. And which I think tells better stories, because if you kind of make it into a smaller story, you don't have to explain why all the other characters that didn't show up. So it's like you don't need to explain why in the Winter Soldier with the um, Shield being overtaken and all this other stuff. It was a spy movie, and it's like, well, how come Iron Man and the rest of them didn't come help out when all this stuff was happening? And that's the problem when you do stuff like this. It's like you make it this all like this huge thing, and then you got to explain why nobody else seems to care, which is weird. It's like you would think, given the ties that Tony Stark has with Shield and Nick Fury and all this, that he would be a bit concerned that Hydra took over Shield and is using all the stuff that he made to try to conquer the world. And this is where you uh, run into that particular problem. I think I did see something else where they mention Spiderman. See if I can find it. Yeah, this makes for great television. No, I can't find it. All right. Well, I guess I just go into my next topic then. The Ironheart TV show, which was filmed almost 2 years ago, filmed, finished, written, in the can, special effects done, everything. They kept it under I guess they were trying to figure out what to do with it because they've already paid for it, and I guess certain contracts with certain people you have to put the stuff out, and some people you don't. The way it seems to work is some people you don't have to do this with, but so it's like they bury these things, they put it deep. Like it's gonna be on Disney Plus, so I guess it's buried enough. But typically they try to bury it a lot, and like what they did with Batgirl. It's like they felt that with Batgirl that it would affect the brand so much, like the overall DC brand, that they decided to just bite the bullet on it and basically burn every copy. I don't know why they didn't do that with this, but who knows why these companies do the things that they do. So, all right. Oh, there's an article that's on that Park Place. There's like another one too, so I'm gonna check that one out as well. Marvel uses Robert Downey Jr. to sell Ironheart ahead of Disney Plus release. Explains why Riri is more remarkable than Tony Stark. They tried to do that in a comic book and they didn't go over very well. She was a child genius. Somehow she figured out how to build her own armor, and I'm just, like I said, I'm trying to go off the top of my head. They had a thing where one of Riri's teachers was trying to give her a compliment, but she didn't appreciate the compliment and she wanted to get some kind of motivation to succeed or something. So the teacher was like, she couldn't think of anything. So she's like, all right, well, you won't be as successful as Tony Stark. Now, the teacher didn't really want to do this. It was really poorly written. So the face that she made when that happened is like he became her mortal enemy. Like that's the face that she made is like as a small child. It was all very weird. Having her in the this character never popped with anybody. It's not popular, but for whatever reason they decided to put it into the female Black Panther movie. Her character was kind of dumb. It was the way they wrote it is that she made a detector for vibrating. All right. So like I don't know how you make a detector for something that you basically shouldn't have access to or know does exist, because Wakanda was basically keeping all that stuff under wraps. So how do you make a detector for a metal that you don't know, that you should not know exists at all? So I don't know how you make a detector for that. But somehow she did, and they used it to find the vibranium that was located near Atlantis. Why they did that, I don't know. But in the MCU, the asteroid that brought the vibranium to the planet split in half. One half went to Wakanda, and the other half went to Atlantis. And then that causing it was somehow caused an issue where they can breathe under. It was like really strange. I have no idea why they decided to do that. I don't know why Marvel does anything of the stuff that it does. I don't know why they didn't recast T'Challa and then make an actual Black Panther movie. I don't know why they decided to follow by the all new, all different, even though that failed spectacularly in the comic books. And that's where she came from because they were trying to replace Tony. Basically, they were trying to either race or gender swap all of their main characters with new diverse characters. And they somehow thought that this was going to go over well. So the Hulk was replaced with a Asian guy, Asian late teen, early 20s guy who of course was smarter than Bruce Banner and was able to make himself into the Hulk, but was able to control it. It can go back and forth, kept all his intelligence. So he skipped right through because he was so much smarter than Bruce Banner. He skipped all the negative stuff about being the Hulk and he got all the positive stuff. So he kept his intelligence. He got the super strength. He didn't have to. He got all the benefits of being the Hulk, and pretty much none of the bad parts. And they, what else it did? That's when they started pushing Miles Morales and started kind of pushing Peter Parker to the background. Then Jane Foster as Thor, which was weird because Thor is his actual name. I don't. It's not a mantle. This one they made Falcon into Captain America. So like they did all of these things, didn't go over well like at all. People really didn't like it. So it's amazing that they decided to try to do this in live action. But look, the live Last of Us right now is going through that same similar stuff because the game, like when the game came out and it killed Joel, the fans did not like that. And then they call the fans all kind of bigots and this, that, and the other, and we didn't respect women and blah, 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 blah. And they decided to do that in the TV show, which probably most of the fans of the first game wasn't watching. So you had a whole bunch of normies, and it was a same thing. You spent the entire first season getting everybody to like Joel, and then you killed Joel 2 episodes into the second season, and surprise, surprise, everybody hated it. So I truly don't get what these companies are doing right now, especially now. I say it was quite obvious that nobody's wants to deal with anything dealing with woke, race changes, nothing. So any hint of that in anything right now is an automatic fail. But they're pressing on, and I get it because they kind of have to. But like I said, this was filmed 2 years ago. So what do you do with it, right? All right. Marvel is invoking the name of Robert Downey Jr. in an attempt to justify his upcoming Ironheart series. Marvel's Ironheart is gearing up to close out Phase 5 of the MCU on Disney Plus. The studio appears to be going into full damage control mode ahead of the premiere, despite fans still scratching their heads over her inclusion in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Marvel is now rolling out legacy name drops, strategic comparisons, emotional appeals, and a thinly veiled attempt to build hype and legitimacy for a show few people asked for. Hear, hear. A spiritual successor with no actual link. In a new feature, Empire, Dominique Thorne, who plays Riri Williams Ironheart, recounted her brief encounter with Robert Downey Jr., describing the interaction as exciting exchange where the actor gave her a few words of encouragement and literally 2 thumbs up. The story is framed by Marvel as some kind of symbolic torch passing moment, with articles declaring Riri and Tony Stark to be spiritually linked in the MCU. There's only one problem. There is no actual link. And Robert Downey Jr. was probably being nice to her. Tony Stark died in Avengers Endgame before Riri was even ever introduced. They never met. They have no shared screen time, no story overlap, no established relationship on the films. Calling them spiritually connected is pure marketing spin. A way for Marvel to claim legacy without earning it. It is also a way to reassure fans that Iron Man approves of his replacement, even though that replacement is arriving with little of the narrative weight that made Tony Stark iconic. Yes, it is a character nobody asked for, done at a time period where Marvel had enough people there who decided to really, really push the woke stuff. In the when did this come out? I think early, like the mid to late 2010s. I think this one. So she's been around for at least a little bit, but it's one of the many, many characters that Marvel has that nobody cares about. And like, if you ever go look at the Marvel Encyclopedia, there are hundreds of characters that have been created over the last 80 years that people could care two craps about that character. It's like a dude who is a DC. Is it DC or Marvel? This character. There's a guy who gets his power from cocaine. There's a lot of characters that, for whatever reason, someone decided to make in the 80s, 70s, like whatever. So she is just yet another one of these characters that nobody cares about. That for whatever reason, Marvel is really, really, really trying to push. But actually, I think they kind of have to put this out for whatever reason. Dumpster diving over billionaire's brilliance. Then there's the quote from that's rising eyebrows. Thorne compared her character's background with Tony Stark's. She's dumpster diving where Tony Stark and his was this bajillionaire. What she's able to accomplish is remarkable. Tony Stark was where he's at is because not only was he smart, his dad was smart. So he created an entire business. I don't get what this comparison is about. At first glance, it's meant to emphasize Reeves' resourcefulness, but dig a little deeper and it reads like an unnecessary, frankly dismissive contrast. Like I said, Stark's origin story then began in the Manhattan skyscraper. He built his first suit while kidnapped in a cave with shrapnel near his heart, using a scrap metal and pure genius to survive. His wealth wasn't a shortcut; it was part of a larger arc about responsibility, sacrifice, and redemption. Hence, that she really doesn't understand the Iron Man character. So that's where that statement probably came from. By framing Tony Stark as a spoiled billionaire in contrast with the gritty and remarkable Riri, Marvel seems to be engaging in the same messaging we've seen before, propping up new heroes by downplaying the old ones. Yeah, it is what led to basically the death of Star Wars. And I'm just amazed at this kind of stuff. Like, you clearly seeing things that aren't working, yet folks keep doing the same stuff. This did not work with Star Wars. People did not prefer Rey over Luke, regardless of what you wind up doing to Luke. You screwed up Luke, screwed up Han, screwed up all this other stuff. So this is the same company. So you will figure, all right, well, that didn't really work for Star Wars, so maybe we shouldn't do that for this. Now, you could have introduced this character street level, janky costume or whatever. Have her create her own thing without having to take pot shots at somebody else. Because there are plenty of people in the Marvel universe who has armor. Some of it is stolen from Tony Stark. Some of it is created on their own. So she could have been one of the people who created it on their own. But, it is modern Marvel for you. Here's the entire playbook and one is turning off longtime fans. Yes. Riri original appearance in Wakanda Forever was highly viewed as forced, with many critics and fans noting that her inclusion felt like a Disney Plus backdoor pilot or than a natural fit for the story. Now, her standalone series is being marketed with borrowed nostalgia, legacy hand-me-downs, and vague platitudes. The official synopsis describing Riri is returning to Chicago after Wakanda, where she'll face off against Parker Robinson, the Hood, a character powered by dark magic. Okay. Meanwhile, Disney Plus is positioning Ironheart as the climactic ending to Phase 5, even though the hype just isn't there. This is going to go over like a wet fart. If people didn't watch Daredevil, they're not going to watch this thing. Period. It's hard to shake the feeling that Marvel knows this and is trying to salvage interest by reminding audiences of Iron Man without actually giving them Iron Man. And we're almost done. Legacy cannot be manufactured. Marvel used to let characters earn their place through years of storytelling growth and audience connections. Yeah, but that takes a while. So I guess they're deciding to go the DC route and just try to fast track and give people stuff that they think that they should want. And yeah, that don't really work out too well. That's how Legacy used to work, but Ironheart is being treated like a plug and play replacement for Iron Man. No build up, no meaningful link, just a checklist and marketing push. This isn't about evolving the MCU, it's about swapping out iconic heroes with underdeveloped substitutions or substitutes while and hoping a new few name drops will sell it. Riri didn't train under Tony Stark. She didn't inherit anything from him, and yet Marvel wants the audience to accept that she's a natural continuation of his legacy simply because she built the suit. Like I said, there are plenty of characters in the Marvel universe that have made their own suit that have no ties whatsoever to Tony Stark. She could have been one of them. She could have created her own thing, or but I guess they feel that people are stupid and they need a link in order for you to for the transfer that fan base over because they wanted to go quickly, and by building her up takes time, and I guess they don't want to take that time. Okay. We're seeing as a studio trying to bypass the hard work of storytelling and lean entirely on brand nostalgia. A brief conversation with Robert Downey Jr. gets inflated into a passing of the torch, a character who showed up as a side note in another film that gets top billing to close out a major MCU phase. This isn't organic, it's engineered. Yeah, and it's not going to work. See if this one has any more information on it. Okay. Okay. And then it just further expands on the conversation she had with Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. and I spoke after we wrapped, and he shared some very lovely words about my journey. He told me how excited he was and that he's rooting for it too, and literally got 2 thumbs up. And it's really reassuring to know that you're not embarrassing Iron Man. It's not the first time. Okay, this is not the first time that Marvel has attempted to prop up Riri Williams, aka Ironheart, with Robert Downey Jr. Back in 2019. Ironheart comic book written writer Eve Ewing claimed that Downey had high praise for the character during their appearance at the Gene Siskel Film Center. Okay, posted a now deleted post on X. The real story here is that Robert Downey Jr. said publicly in a room full of people that Ironheart should be in the MCU. I went straight back to the press area afterward and was like, yo, I heard it, write that down. Series itself is a well given. Okay, the series in itself is well given that the entire purpose of Ironheart is to attempt to replace Iron Man with a black girl that completely failed in the comic books and likely to fail in live action as well. Okay. Yeah, so just more the same. What the? Okay. We also know the series be pushing the LGBTQ event. Zoe Tarakis, a woman who pretends to be a man. Hold on. Sorry. Even had surgery to remove her breast. Informed little trans kids. There's no such thing as little trans kids. Trans teens. No such thing as trans teens. Either it is children with questionable parents. Something to look forward to and know that they exist. They don't actually exist. That's something that their parents push on them because they're children. Children can't they can't decide to get tattoos. So why would they decide this? So anyway. All right, so this goes into I don't care about that. All right. But there is another interesting article on there that ties into this. Right. All right. Marvel blames Disney for recent film and TV failures, using the exact same excuses as Star Wars. Because nothing is ever my fault. It is always some outside force. It's not has nothing to do with the decisions that I am making. Yes, it is the fact that nobody liked my meatloaf. It has nothing to do with the fact that this doesn't actually have any meat in it and I put too much seasoning. No, it is they should like my tofu meatless meatloaf, and the fact that they don't like it, it has something to do with them, not me. All of executives and employees are blaming the Walt Disney Company and its recent film and TV failures. In an expose in the Wall Street Journal claimed that the Marvel Studios boss Kevin Feige is putting the blame on Bob Iger, executives at Marvel's parent company, the Walt Disney Company. For studios' recent failures, specifically, Feige is blaming Disney for forcing them to churn out as much content as possible for its Disney Plus streaming service. In Marvel's heyday, they were putting out a bunch of stuff. People just liked it, and it was better written. So it's not about how much stuff you are putting out; it is the quality of the things that you are putting out. And you decided to force through the message and everything that you did. You destroyed all your characters. Like you make Captain Marvel character nobody likes in comic books. You decided to make her into your version of Superman. She has no flaws other than she had failed memory. You completely destroyed how the Avengers were created. You completely destroyed how Nick Fury lost his eye. If you had actually told kind of the story that was implied in the Civil War, it's damn, I hate being old. It is in what's the name of this damn? What is Bucky? I can't remember. The Winter Soldier. If you decided to tell a story that was implied in Winter Soldier, that would have been a good story. What you told was stupid, and having him lose his eyeball to a space cat, and then so stop blaming Disney. Well, I would hope that Disney didn't tell you to do all of that. According to the report, believes this content overwhelmed and alienated viewers. Furthermore, the team allegedly stretched and diluted the quality of their output. The quality was diluted because you kept changing your mind. Hence the reason why she got fired. The lady who's in charge of all that, they kept changing their mind about stuff because they kept trying to add more woke stuff to everything. Therefore, you never gave the people who were making the special effects enough time to actually make good product. Therefore, they got pooped on by everybody because the product was bad, and because you kept changing your mind and you didn't have an actual story, which James Gunn used to talk about. It's like you ran, once Kevin Feige ran everybody else out, he couldn't, whoever was left couldn't really tell a coherent story. And that's why there was a remarkable difference between the first four phases of the MCU and the fifth one. And the TV shows are bad. It was just a lot of bad. It even claims that Feige agreed to the plan because of his zealousness to tell more stories and a desire to be an excellent corporate citizen. As the studio being strategy claims that Feige has the final decision maker for each Disney Plus show, and the studio is creating, and he would overturn weeks of work with little to no time to implement the changes before the show needed to meet its deadlines. So again, it's not my fault, even though I kept doing this. But even claims staffers chased him down in the hallways in order to get answers. At this point, Secret Invasion director Ali Salim informed Insider back in 2023 that his show was being cobbled together in the editing room as they were releasing new episodes every week. He asked from what other Marvel directors and actors have said. Sometimes things in the scripts change at the last minute or the day of filming. What was your experience like for Secret Invasion? How closely did it follow all the scripts, and how much room was there for improvisation or adjustments? I don't want to play semantic games, but I think of it as an evolution as you hunt down a story. Everything is constantly evolving. It is a fascinating process, and I guess there are moments of improv, like between Sam and Don, between Sam and Ben, and their really rich moments of improv. There are actors who rely more to the script, and I think as we were editing, we were still finding the story, which is why it sucked. You the Pixar in its heyday, it would take I think around 3 to 4 years for them to make a movie. The first year and a half to 2 years was just on the story. They did some voice work, they did some of this, some of that, character designs, yada yada yada. But they focused mostly on the story and the storyboards. So by the time they actually got to the animation part, they had the movie down pat. They knew what they wanted to do, so they didn't really need to make any changes unless something happened where they had to. That's why the movies work. This is insane. If every Marvel product is like this, no wonder they all suck. Because there's no you need a solid middle of the story to put like the framework in order for everything else to go on top, and then you can make your improvisations. It's like when you're cooking. You need to understand how to actually make the whatever you're making the proper way first. Once you understand how to make it the proper way first, so it tastes like it's supposed to taste, then you can add stuff to it and make it your own. If you don't have that, then you wind up with the mess that this show was, where at the end you have an all-powerful person just floating in the MCU who has everybody's powers. She is the super duper duper scroll. So how are you going to explain that from now on? So every time anything happens, well, how come she didn't show up? She exists. She has everybody's powers. She's super strong. She seems to know how to use everybody's powers. I mean, and when I say she has everybody's powers, she actually has every person in the MCU who has shown any kind of ability. She has all of their powers, from the aliens to the mutants to the Asgardians, like everybody. So, all right, they just fought the Sentry and the Thunderbolts or the New Avengers. Where was she at? This thing is going around New York City killing everything. How come she didn't show up to fight it? I mean, this is her adopted planet now, but she just don't give a shit. And if she don't give a shit, that's bad, because you got this super power person floating on the moon who just don't care. But that's how this works. Is like they don't really think about any of that stuff. That's what you got to think about. It's like, okay, if you're going to make a story that is evolving constantly, that is tied into a bunch of other stories, you have to think about, okay, well, how can somebody else use this? That's why I said, like earlier, if you have small contained stories that go towards the character, so therefore you don't really need to explain why other folks didn't come and like do anything about this, because it wasn't a world changing event for everyone. It was just a world changing event for that particular character. So therefore, it may not even be on the radar for Black Widow or Tony Stark if something happens. So, and I think as we're editing, we're still finding the story. We're still finding the story in episode 6 up until episode 1 already aired, and that's part of the beauty of it. That is not good. None of that statement is good. Nothing. You do not have a foundation for your story. If you're just finding the story, that means you shouldn't have filmed anything. You shouldn't have filmed nothing before you found out what story you wanted to tell. Which basically is the reason why, and I know I keep going back and forth, why the first part of Game of Thrones worked, because they had a solid basis for the story, and why the last 2.5 seasons sucked, because they didn't. So they were improvising and trying to make up stuff based on like thin, shallow outlines given to them by George R.R. Martin, and that's why it didn't work. So that they made silly decisions, like having Arya kill the Night King instead of Jon. You built up for Jon to do it, and because you changed your mind and didn't want to do the cliche thing, you decided to go another route, and everyone hated it when you did that because just like this person, you're just finding the story, which makes absolutely no damn sense. All right. Um, Disney CEO Bob Iger previously spun this narrative during the New York Times Deal Book Summit. In the interview, he said, "Our particularly in our particularly case, and specifically about some of those films, they were not as good, not as high in quality as some of their predecessors. Our films, and as they should have been. Wow, particularly in this environment." So I don't know that. Okay, that's some interesting structure there. The world was shot during COVID. There was not as much supervision on the set, so to speak, where we will have executives really looking over what's being done day to day after day after day after day, and result mostly of COVID. But at the same time, we increased our output tremendously to feed streaming platforms. Too much, by the way, definitely a mistake. Quality needs attention to deliver quality, and it doesn't happen by accident. And quantity in our case diluted quality, and Marvel suffered greatly from that. Yeah, there was nothing that any executive at Disney was going to be able to add to this when the people who are supposedly the creatives don't even have a damn story nailed down while they're like 6 episodes into the damn show. Yeah, so there is nothing that Bob Iger could have told them that was going to fix that. The way they completely destroyed this man, like seriously, they completely destroyed him. And I don't know why Samuel Jackson let him do it. They screwed up Rhodey because it's the thing about Marvel now is like they don't actually look at anybody else's stuff. They used to do that, so they didn't make as many mistakes in the past as they do now because they don't seem to look at anybody else's stuff. So they don't know. It's like, dude, it makes no sense for the scroll Rhodey to be that damn affected by Tony Stark dying because he wasn't her best friend. So I guess she's a really good actress. And like none of it made any sense. Wall Street Journal reported that trotted out the tire fatigue narrative, randomly citing a 23-year-old social media manager named Leslie Rodriguez, who said, I loved it for many years, but after the TV shows and everything, it just started to getting a little confusing and all over the place." Yes, back to previous thing. James Gunn mentioned something in the past about how they didn't really have any story, like nothing was really tied in an overall arch, and that was your biggest thing was the overall arch of this story. So they didn't actually do that anymore. So yeah, of course it got confusing because nobody looked at anybody else's stuff. Everybody was doing their own damn thing, and you screwed up storylines that were already baked in place with no explanation for anything. It's like, why did Miss Marvel just disappear? Captain Marvel just disappear and never came back to her home planet to find out what was going on. How did the scrolls just show up on Earth and nobody noticed? And the narrative has something new in Disney. They tried to decide with Lucasfilm. Star Wars following a significant decline in negative audience reactions to Disney's Star Wars trilogy, and specifically the box office bomb that was. I guess the train is deciding to go by. Mm. So yeah, it is getting into Marvel. That's what's crazy about this is no one seems to accept that. Right. Well, maybe what we did was incorrect in terms of we don't really know what we're doing. So probably need to go back to the storyboard and or and figure out, it's like, all right, what are we doing wrong, instead of just forging ahead and just doing the same, doing your damn thing and hoping for the best. So stupid. All right, well, I got like a few more things. What time is it? All right. As you all know, it's been a little warm in California, so right now it's a little hotter up where I'm at. Probably don't care too much, but I do want to touch on the Matt Reeves. Nice. Fine. Uh, bu- 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 hmm. And, oh, there it is. All right, so there's an update on the Matt Reeves the Batman. Actually, for all his faults, I actually enjoyed the Batman. And apparently he's gone. Matt Reeves is going through something, so that's why we haven't made another one. Which is they say. I don't. Maybe that's the reason why when the Penguin was a smash hit that everybody was talking about, they didn't James Gunn didn't fast track this movie to connect to it because they connected to it at the end of the show. They just basically chose not to do I don't know what the word am I looking for? They chose not to benefit from it. It's not exactly what I'm thinking. Like I heard a story today about when Cat Williams had that viral thing on on Club Shay Shay. He didn't do anything to boost himself with it. Like the same thing. All right, so update: Matt Reeves still attached to the Batman Part Two, but will the next Batman be world's finest? Okay, according to James Gunn, Matt Reeves is still the director of the Batman Part Two, despite recent rumors. Okay. Batman Part 2's potential cancellation remains a topic of great interest among fans. The movie is scheduled to release in 2027. Yeah, at this point, the Batman's going to be a senior citizen. However, the rumors swirl about the filmmaker Matt Reeves dealing with potentially serious personal issues. It's unclear whether the sequel will meet that date. DC, well, man, the first one didn't really need that much in terms of special effects because this version of Batman is more of a street level fighter, so there's not too much fantastical type stuff. So therefore, you really don't need that much time to do your special effects. Really, I mean, if you film it properly, it's like in the previous thing, you actually work the story through and all that stuff before you actually start filming. So that means you can film it fairly quickly. And if you don't go crazy with the special effects, yeah, I mean, like, it's just 2025. So if yeah, I guess if they started next year, because the hell, they until Trump came out with the tariffs, they were trying to film Doomsday this year and get it out by next year, and that's gonna have a crap ton of special effects in it. I ain't know how the hell I was gonna do that. This really shouldn't. DC Studio repeatedly confirmed that he's yet to receive a script from Reeves, and even Robert Pattinson has joked about how old his Bruce Wayne will be by the time Batman Part 2 happens. There's also no secret that Gunn has his own plans for the Cape Crusader, which is, yeah, his plans are kind of stupid. But James Gunn just kind of does the thing that he likes, even though it don't make no sense. He decides to completely skip over Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, and like all the previous Robins to go to his favorite, which was Damon Wayne. Even though you could probably tell a more far-reaching and have more spin-offs if you tell a Batman story, not necessarily for him parents being shot, but when he basically adopts his first Robin. And then you can go from there and how tell a story about how that changed him. And then you can watch Robin grow up, have him have a falling out with Batman, have him be fired, start his own career as his own superhero. Have what happened to Jason Todd happens. And so you can tell all these stories before you get to Damon. Because with Damon, you got to like basically properly introduce Tara Tara Ghul. I'm saying this like incorrectly, but you have to introduce all of these elements to properly explain where Damon came from and why he acts like he does. But James Gunn is going to skip all of that. Because technically speaking, it wasn't like, I don't know if you can call it rape, but it was more like she forced herself on him when he was I don't know exactly what you would call what happened, but he kind of forced himself. Like she made it's weird how it's not as technically rape. I don't think. I don't know, but she kind of forced herself on him in a way where he kind of didn't remember what happened. He kind of does, kind of doesn't, kind of thing. And it's not like he wasn't attracted to her in the first place. It's like a weird story, but that's how she got what she needed to make Damon. So yeah, you can go look it up to get a further. It's like I don't know exactly how to describe what happened. It's like I don't know if she gave him something to put him more in the mood, or like I don't know. I don't know if it was she slipped him a Mickey. I don't know. Like I don't know how to describe this, but that but you got to kind of explain all of that to build up to where James Gunn wants to start with Batman. You just skip over all of these stories. So I don't really understand what he wants to do with Batman, but it is what it is. Over the past couple of days, Production Weekly has listing has generated quite a stir after indicating that Reeves might not direct the Batman sequel. His name wasn't included in the publication, but a quick Google search would tell you that the same was the case last year, and Production Weekly is far from a reliable source. Context to typically collate. Dinner room was created by synopsis, and cast list. If he's not writing a direct sequel to Superman. The insider later shared his own speculation, stating that the signs I'm getting is that the next Batman movie won't be the Batman 2. Like the next time you see Batman, it'll be in a world's finest movie or something. And that's probably what Gunn is working on right now. All right. If you're gonna do world's finest, you can't have both Superman and Batman as figuring this out. Because world finest, they're in their 30s, so they have already had everything figured out. They know how to be Batman, they know how to be Superman. And then it is their friendship, but also their competing thought process of how stuff needs to be done that gives the tension between the two. And then you got to actually have a threat that is big enough to have Superman involved, but not too big where is ridiculous to have like a human with Superman. I have zero faith in anything in modern Hollywood to be able to pull that off. Granted, there's a bunch of world's finest comics that they can just choose from. Pick a story out of one of those. So, will they do that? I don't know. But difference is that Dawn of Justice was really just a means to set up Justice League. If Gunn writes and directs a true Batman Superman team up, it stands a chance of being a huge hit for Disney Studios. Depends on how Superman does. It also gives Andy Muschietti additional time to figure out the Brave and the Bold, and crucially gives the DCU a Batman. As for where it leaves the Batman Part 2, where we're still not convinced is going to happen. Okay. About the Batman sequel, and we're not in the weeds on the Batman stuff. Is really James and Peter Safran who run DC. We have a bit other collaboration with Matt Reeves, but Peter and James know he's a writer, director, auteur in his own right, and it will come when he's basically written his best Batman script and is ready. Okay, I don't know what to make of that. Hollywood is just screwed, dude. From the previous article that I just read about them not having a damn proper story for the Secret Invasion up until the 6th episode, and they were still trying to. You do not make your story in the editor's room. You're supposed to have all that done beforehand. That's the reason why those Dune movies don't cost nearly as much as the Marvel movies do. because the director figures all that out before he films anything. He knows where everything needs to go. He knows what special effects that he needs to use. He has everything figured out. So none of this stuff doesn't cost as much because he's not overtaxing the special effects people. He's not doing rewrites and rescripts. He's not doing any of these things that Marvel does on a regular basis. So, all right. So I am going to finish this out on an article that I saw a while ago that I never really retouched on. And I'm just going to quickly go through it. It is all right. The weird period of Disney. Now, I don't consider it weird. I more consider this a time period when Disney took chances. All right. So, one of these movies they are currently made a live action for that's coming out this month. And they finally realized that the fan base of this particular product wants you to remake a live version of this particular product, not your own interpretation, not changing silly stuff for no reason and making things. No, they want you to make, if you're going to make a live action version, make it a live action version of the thing that they like. So I'm gonna go through the list right quick. Weird Period brought some of the best and most underrated movies, but not all of them had the same strength on impact. And when Disney shifted their focus to 3D animation, which was dumb. I think I saw someone saying that kids don't like 2D animation, which is silly, considering how much anime is kicking their butts. So kids do like 2D animation. They just like good stories to go with the 2D animation, not crap stories like you keep trying to push. But I digress. So the first one in this list was Mickey's House of Villains. I didn't really see that. All right, so this 2020, man, he's old. Shows the villains following Jafar's plan to take over the nightclub of Halloween. Yeah, so this is like one of those straight to video type of joints. Yeah, this yeah, I couldn't get with it. Brother Bear actually was interesting. Had a nice soundtrack. I think this was also Phil Collins. Story is a Inuit, I think he was an Inuit, who gets turned into a bear and he gets basically adopted by this orphan baby bear. So, and it just goes through the adventures of him trying to figure out how to go become human again. And as he's doing that, he is dealing with all the interesting characters in the forest and the needs of this baby bear. All right. One of the most underappreciated films, Brother Bear, which follows the Inuit, like I said, named Kenya, who transformed into a bear after needlessly kills one. I think it was his brother or mother or something like that he killed. We're stuck with helping a young cub named Coda. Brother Bear's a beautiful movie that deserves much more praise and attention that it gets. Yeah, it's a very good movie. So I'm not too sure about this one. Yeah, but this one, yeah. But it also is like, it's one of those movies that you gotta take a chance with because it's not your typical type. I mean, it's a typical Disney type of story, but yeah, thought it was actually pretty good. Tarzan was very good. The most interesting thing about Tarzan is the lead animator. He based him on skateboarding. He was a skateboarder. Well, no, the lead animator wasn't a skateboarder. His son was. So he based like how he moved like a skateboarder does his little lines and tricks. So if you look at like how he moved to the trees, it's like a skateboarder would. Released the final film of Disney Renaissance Tarzan. The movie follows a baby who's apes and killed by a leopard named Saber. He must then figure out his place in the world. And like I said, it's a typical Disney type story. Tarzan is often lifted up as one of the animation studio's best movies of the era because of its gorgeous animation, and it actually did a fairly good job of mixing 3D animation and 2D. Like when he was going through the trees, I think that part was 3D. Despite its strengths, is one of the weaker movies of Disney Plus weird period. The movie isn't expressive if its soundtrack is removed from the equation. When it's kind of all in. I remember listening to the dinosaur movie that Disney put out a while back. When you look at the special effects that's on the DVD, it allows you to take out the dialogue, the sound effects, and the music, right? So to see what it sounded like, see what the mix sounded like if you take out one of these elements. When you take out the music, it just the scene doesn't work. When you take out the special effects, I mean the sound effects, the scene doesn't work. But when you take out the dialogue and you just have the sound effects, excuse me, and the musical background music, it works. But because the reason why it works is animated, so like is animated well enough where you can actually get how the dinosaur is feeling about the scenario that he's in. And the situation was it's either something is exploding. So I don't know if it was a meteor or it was a volcano. I don't remember which one. It's been a while since I've seen this movie. But the facial expressions give you how terrified the main character was. So you didn't really need the dialogue of him yelling and huffing and puffing and whatever. So from my point of view, all that stuff tied together. You can't have one without the other. Like movies that really, really work usually have a very good soundtrack, and the ambiance and the effects and all that stuff are really good as well. And it is written well. So you have all three of those things. You typically have a good movie. Still, all right. Atlantis: The Lost Empire. Yeah, that movie was good. In terms of strength, again, it's a Disney-ish movie, but kind of takes chances. It's a little different from the it does have the main Disney fingerprints on it, but it's a different type of story. Kind of, it's all of these movies are kind of movies that Disney would not make nowadays because it does a lot of formulaic stuff. While this does have the Disney fingerprints on it, the story is still unique or not. Yeah, it is still somewhat unique. It animated, critical, and commercial flops. I actually liked it, so I don't. Failings epically at the box office. However, this film has gained a cult following since then, and it's actually a great movie upon reflection. Like other movies in Disney's weird period, Atlantis pushes the boundaries when it comes to style and story. The animation blends together the traditional Disney style with that of comic books and anime. With directors signing Miyazaki as a major influence, which is Studio Ghibli. Story also feels like a Dungeons and Dragons campaign come to life with characters who possess contrasting personalities having to work together to achieve a goal. And they bounce off one another perfectly, enhancing the humor, and there's a sense of adventure throughout the entire film. What's interesting about this whole thing is there are a lot of you would on the surface think of as modern woke takes on certain things, like certain it's very diverse. The given the time period that it's in is very diverse. They have women doing things that will be more masculine, but they don't. None of this stuff comes across as forced, which makes it a good story because none of this stuff is forced. It's like they have an actual reason why each one of these racially diverse people are there. All right, so number 3, Emperor's New Groove. I just bought this. Like all the characters, and this is a very good character cartoon where story is kind of basic, but given the chemistry between these two, you have a really great villain. The like Eartha Kitt is like they're all funny. So everybody's funny. John Goodman plays basically John Goodman, and this is a really good movie. Like, which is the reason why I just purchased it again. I have it on DVD, but I decided to get it on iTunes. Groove is a great way of Disney to start off the millennium, and it simplifies Disney weird period. The story follows the selfish emperor named Cusco, who gets turned into a llama by Yzma, and power-hungry ex-member of his administration. He must enlist the help of Paca, and villager who gets who he snubbed at the start of the film, transformed back into human. The story is funny, weird, and experimental, and it's zero focus on romance, which is the usual Disney films to that point. All right, like I said, it is. This movie is all about the characters, how they react to each other, all the jokes. The jokes work very, very well. I love this movie. Mulan, okay. Yeah, this was again. All these are really good movies, except for like the villains one. That was more of a straight to video kind of thing. But Mulan started weird period, which obviously through the blending of traditional innovation, the story follows a titular young woman who pretends to be a man so she can take place of her father in war, hoping to earn honor for her family. Again, this story would have some elements of what we would consider woke now. They're just done very well, as opposed to the stuff that happens now, which is not done very well. Just like before, very good soundtrack, good songs. The art of all of these, all the art for most of these movies are very good. The good characters development, good characters. Each person does things in a way that fits their character, and there's an actual reason for why they do the things that they do, like all of them. And finally, Lilo and Stitch, which they are, like I said, remaking into a live action movie right now. This is another excellent thing. I love this movie, and I even bought the art book for it. I have it. I have it on like Blu-ray. I have it on DVD. I love this thing because it's an original story back when Disney used to do original stories. And that's the thing about all of these stories is they're all different, right? So it's not the same. It's not that you don't feel cookie cutter when you when you there's no cookie cutter when it comes to any of these movies. They're very good watches. I would recommend all of them except for maybe Villains. Like I said, the only reason I don't recommend Villains is because I've never seen it. Yeah, so I cannot wait to the live action thing. When the when the trailer for it came out, I was like, I don't know about this. Till I watched it, I'm like, yeah, it was basically a live action version of Lilo and Stitch. So, all right, well, that's it for me tonight. I am over here cooking. So please like, share, and subscribe. Hopefully, my partners in crime will be back next week. So we have a bit more entertaining stories instead of just me sitting there talking and sweating. So please like, share, and subscribe. Welcome to the UN podcast and all that stuff. So I will cut some of these out and post them. All right, later.